The demands placed on leaders are changing rapidly. The leaders I work with, they face this all the time. And if it's true that change happens at the speed of trust, then those leaders who invest in trust, they're going to be the ones that have the competitive advantage. They're going to be the ones that will be developing teams that thrive with people who are coming alive. And I've been thinking about this idea that trust is really, as Brene Brown says, the layering of small moments and reciprocal vulnerability, one after the other. And Simon Sinek says, if there is no trust, then there's no team, it's fake. So the reality is that many leaders, and even leaders that I work with, and I know this to be true because I've lived it myself, as leaders, without knowing it, we can sabotage trust. And I just want to share with you 5 ways very quickly that leaders sabotage trust without knowing it. So number 1 is they don't model vulnerability. There's a story about Alan Mulally, who took over for Ford when they were $17 billion in debt. At the time he took over, they were sorely underperforming as a team. And what he began to do was he began to honor those who came to the meetings and they shared where they were falling short in their progress and in the team results. And he actually applauded those who showed up to the meeting and they said that they didn't agree or they were struggling in a particular area. And over the course of time, as he developed his theory of working together teams, they pulled out of that $17 billion deficit and became a profitable corporation again, turned Ford around in 2007, 2008. So the first idea and the first way that leaders often sabotage their trust without knowing it is by not modeling vulnerability. Vulnerability allows us to say where we need help, where we're struggling, what we're struggling with. People know that you're struggling long before you even tell them, typically. I mean, we're intuitive creatures. And so when leaders model vulnerability on their teams, that's what creates trust. Now, vulnerability also has to have its particular boundaries and parameters. Vulnerability for vulnerability's sake is not intelligent. It's not smart. But when you can create a culture of vulnerability where people are actually free to say where they're struggling, where they need help, that begins to create trust. Leaders have to model that. The second area, or the second way that leaders oftentimes sabotage trust without knowing it, is that they don't mind for conflict. You don't create an environment which makes it okay to passionately debate for ideology or for a particular idea. And instead, we view conflict as, evil. We're afraid of conflict because we think of conflict as something that is typically attacking the person. But when leaders actually make it normative and they make space for their teams to be able to engage in passionate ideological debate, the pursuit of the ultimate decision, and they stop in a meeting and they say, okay, look at what we're doing right now is good. It's good right now that Jan is entering and engaged in this conversation with Tom, or I appreciate you pushing back on me like this. I think it's good. We're pursuing the truth here. We're pursuing the right course of action. Without the opportunity for people to actually disagree with the leader and instead give the corporate nod, you're actually minimizing the trust that you have. You're sabotaging it. So that's the second way. And number 3, the third way that leaders sabotage trust without knowing it, is that they don't regularly receive feedback from those that they lead. They don't create a feedback-rich environment. They don't take the time to have a stop-start continuum with those that they lead. They don't have a policy whereby which others can speak into, the right people on the team, trusted people can actually speak into and give feedback. And then the fourth way that leaders sabotage Their trust is that they don't know themselves to lead themselves. They don't know the areas, the tendencies that they have, the actions that they take because of particular tendencies, and then the consequences and reality that they create within their environment. So they don't know their particular, we use this language, they don't know their weapon system, the way that they create defensiveness within themselves. They don't know what triggers them. They don't take the time to, because vulnerability is not up for grabs. It's not open. They don't take the time to actually express particular fears that they have or concerns that they're experiencing. And then fifth and lastly, leaders sabotage trust by not intentionally investing in those around them. So if the people around you don't know that you're investing in them, then you're actually not investing in them. If there's not a stated way by which you're helping others to know themselves and to lead themselves, then you're actually not helping them to engage in the conflict that's necessary for your team. So those are 5 ways that leaders sabotage trust without knowing it. And those leaders who continue to embrace trust and mine for it, they're going to be the ones that last in this ever-changing environment.